Hello and welcome to the Namaste podcast. Today is the first episode in English, so really amazing. And I will welcome Cristi Christensen. Hello, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is an honor and a pleasure for many reasons. And I'm so happy to be your first.
Yeah. Cristi, like we met in person. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago in Linz, and I just remember your class, like Shakti, amazing. It was really, it was the perfect flow, and your energy, like when I think of you, it's just the Shakti power. And and in the same time, it's like grounding and Shakti. And you're such an amazing woman. And I remember that I was just turning 40, I think. And you said, when you're 40, there is like this, a new life is beginning and it's so many possibilities. And I always have to think of you because sometimes you reflect and think, oh my God, you're growing and aging. But you're so right. And you are so inspiring, your energy and everything that, I just want to say, thank you. And you're based in LA?
Yes. Wait, I have to ask though, has your life, how has it been since you've turned 40? Has it improved? Has life opened to new different possibilities? Was I correct or not?
Like from 30 till 40, I had everything what I wanted, like came in place, like this family and marriage and blah, blah, blah. And now I am 41. And the strange thing is that, my soul is calling me. Yeah. And it's really hard because I don't know, because I somehow feel that I lost my strength and my courage, which I really had. Before the kids, I was really stronger. And now I feel and I know that I need to have it back to follow my dreams and follow my goals. And it's really, and it's so, somehow it's strange because you can't do something against it because your head says you can't do that. Your head says it's not logical, like what is the society thinking of you and what you want to do. And on the other side there is your soul calling, and it's always more intensive and stronger. And at the end I think you have to follow your soul, because if you don't do it, I really think that you're going to be sick one day. I think a lot of suffering, emotionally, mentally, which then I believe leads to physical suffering or sick or disease as well. Yeah, because I think that energetically with the 5 koshas that it's manifesting in the body. And as I'm also working with cancer patients, I always think, are these ladies, because sometimes you just don't know why someone is having cancer, like especially when these are kids, maybe it's from the life before, but it's always reminding me that life has an end someday. So,
in this form.
Yeah, in this form.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to ask you, like, how was your way to yoga and to the chakras? Like, you have this new, amazing, wonderful book, Chakra Rituals. I love it. It's so, so beautiful. The cover and the colors inside, and beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It for me, it is a piece of art. Very much. And I wanted just one of my real goals with it was like, even if you just saw it or you just held it or you just went like this, that there would be an activation, right? That it feels alive. It's already almost like bringing your chakras online just by looking at it without even reading a word.
Yeah.
So that was like the first step. that it was like really a darshan.
This book gives you energy by just seeing the cover. Like, and when you see the inside with the colors, it's like, wow, it's, yeah.
Yay. That was the goal. That was one of the things I really pushed with my publisher, being like, no. It has to be beautiful. It has to be, the colors have to pop. It has to be on glossy paper. Like, yeah. So I'm glad I pushed for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit about my journey to yoga goes back in time to me being a little girl. From age about 6 years old till age 24, I was training in the sport of first gymnastics and then platform diving, trying to make, with the goal of making the U.S. Olympic team. I moved away from home when I was 15 to train at the Olympic Training Center. I went to college via a scholarship for diving. And it was the only vision, it was the only purpose, it was the only goal that I had for my life. Everything I ate, everything that I drank, the people I hung out with, everything I did was for this goal. Nothing else really existed or even mattered. I had to go to school. So, I mean, of course, I was doing those things, but I could care less, like literally, I could care less about anything else. And I had a lot of issues with my physical body. You know, when you're training at that level, I think from such a young age and pushing your body to these extremes or these limits, I had a lot of injuries. And when the first major injury was when I was 14, I broke my back for the first time. And that's what actually pivoted me from gymnastics to diving, because my parents were like, no more. I was in a back brace for like 6 months. I was sleeping, sitting up. It was pretty devastating. And about 2 years later, or about a year and a half later, was when I started diving, because we didn't know enough and thought, oh, diving won't be as, challenging on your body. Well, for me, it was. And the final injury was when I was 24. I was training at that point for the 2004 Olympics. And I broke my back for the third time. And doctors told me then that by the age of 30, I would be walking with a cane. And if I wanted to have kids, I wouldn't be able to pick them up. And they basically sealed that as my fate. They weren't even like, if you stop now, you can prevent that. They're like, this is where you're at now. And if you continue, it's going to be that much worse. And we can't tell you what that's going to look like. So in that moment, there was this, I thought my life was over. In the limited life experience I had lived so far, this was all I knew. This was my identity. This was who I was. This is what I was good at. I fell into a depression that kind of ping-ponged back from depression to anxiety. I obviously was in a lot of pain. So, going through all the treatments and deciding what the best course of recovery was. And the one really good thing I had in my favor was because I started training at such a young age and I was so determined that anything a doctor told me I would not take as truth. So I basically, them saying to me I was going to be walking with a cane in 6 years, I was be like, yeah, right, I'll show you. So that piece of it, like, I couldn't even for a moment even consider that I wouldn't be able to use my body in the way that I wanted to. And I think that really meant that was a good mental space. Everything else was not a good mental space, but that was the one place I was able to keep it. And I think it's in those moments that when we're suffering and when we're lost and we don't know what to do, that we're open to different suggestions from people or guidance from wherever it might come that we maybe would not be previously. And at this time, just to give the context, this is 2002, and yoga was not cool. Yoga was not mainstream. You were not seeing yoga everywhere. Many, like if you, even in the US, like to find a yoga studio in your community, you might have to go 2 towns over. It wasn't, we didn't have the access. And I probably would have never considered going to yoga before, but this one woman invited me and said, I think you might like this. And I only knew yoga as exercise. I didn't know, or actually I thought yoga was sitting, because the only thing I had seen of it was like women in like white leotards, like sitting on top of a mountain, like meditating, right? I really didn't know what it was. And so I said, yeah, I said, sure, I'll do it. Let's go. And it was the thing that struck me or ignited this like little spark of curiosity, I would say, or flame of curiosity, was the breath. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the body movements we did. It wasn't the postures. I had, in all the athletic training I'd done in over 20 years, no practice had I done was guided breath by breath. Mm-hmm. And I just remember like my brain being fascinated by like, and also, again, I don't think I had the language around this, but something definitely happened to my nervous system. You know, because with my anxiety, I realized how much of the time I was holding my breath or, you know, breathing very shallowly. And after the class, the first thing I thought about is like, why were we not doing this in our training? Like, how much would that have helped me in my competition to like be able to regulate and be able to perform better? And it was actually that got me to continue to go versus doing down dog or anything else. And pretty early on, I was lucky enough that the teacher that I was just taking regular classes with started talking about the chakras. And I didn't know anything of energy. I didn't know anything of spirituality. I still thought it was a physical practice. So I didn't really understand, but she would say this word and talk about energy centers and it kind of just whatever. But one day she brought in a picture. She brought in like I don't know if she printed it off the internet or what. And it had the body like sitting, but then it was drawn almost like this. It was drawn almost like these swirls, but each one obviously, you know, a different color. And literally I was like, what is that? And I do think in that moment, similar to what I was saying about seeing this book, something ignited in me and just trying to imagine that these wheels of color or light or power, I don't even know if I believed it yet, were like inside of me. Mm-hmm. It somehow gave me strength in this time of depression to be like, oh, I am. Look how full of life I am. Look how full of color I am. Look how full of, you know, if I could buy into this for a second, you know, it brought back this awe and magic of what it was to be alive. Mm-hmm. And then I just wanted to learn more. And this was a slow process. It wasn't like one day went to yoga, next day. This was, you know, over years, you know, of time that this process happened. But that just, you know, took me in a direction of not wanting to teach yoga or anything like that. This was like something that was feeding, similar to what you were saying earlier, feeding my soul. Like my soul got exposed to this or got back in touch with this, right? Got in touch back with my spirit and was like, oh no, we need more of this. We need more of this. And that's kind of how it all began. And I will say that my work with the chakra system and yoga as the big umbrella that holds it, we'll say, healed my physical body, but maybe more importantly, healed my relationship to my body. Mm-hmm. And because there was a lot of suffering and pain. If you read my book, you'll get a taste of that. But it also, the other surprising things, and you know, in our pre-conversation, we mentioned the koshas as the learning that we are not, health and vitality doesn't exist just on the physical level, right? That in Western medicine so much teaches us, and more awareness is coming forth around this now. But I really believe that this system is what has helped me and continues to help me, because obviously I'm a work in progress, to heal my emotional body, to heal my mental body, to awaken my spiritual body, and have a chance to come back into wholeness, have a chance to live the life that I've been given in a really big and beautiful way.
And I can really see with you, like you're like the living example, like how, the energy you have when you're really you and authentic and you know who you are. And I think you are really, the best example, because your glow, how you are, it shows you that you're, good with you. You know who you are, and grounded. That's so important. And I think it's always being more and more important. And it's also funny when you said like yoga was not modern or hip like 2000, 2002. It was when I started also to go to the yoga center, to the ashram in right by Kitzbühel. And I was so fascinated, and I also wanted to learn more and more about yoga. First, I didn't think about teaching yoga, but I was so interested in it. And then I was so fascinated. And when friends of mine had issues, so then I said, oh, maybe you want to come with me to the yoga. And they were like, oh my God, this is a sect. Where are you bringing me? And then I was like, oh, okay, I don't bring anyone anymore to yoga, because when they think I want to bring them into a sect, it's, yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. And a friend of mine, like we met each other again last year after a few years, and she really had trouble. And she said, oh my God, Yasmin, I should have heard what you told me 20 years ago. What if I would have started yoga? It would have been totally different. And yeah, but that's how life is. And also when you say with the breath, like my yoga studio is Sound of Yoga.
Oh, I love that.
Because for me, it's the essential of yoga, the breath. And I love your example, how you.
Oh, yay. Yeah. I mean, now I kind of have, it might sound funny, but I kind of have a love affair with the breath.
Yeah.
Like that's really the way when I'm feeling disconnected or I'm feeling alone or I'm feeling lost, it's like, if I just close my eye, for me, closing my eyes is helpful. For some people, I know it's not, but for me, it's like I close my eyes, and often it involves touching some part of my body and literally just feel and imagine like the breath of life, the breath of spirit, the breath of love, like descending into my body, and what a gift that is. And then in return, I'm giving that, right? I'm giving the breath of life, the breath of spirit, the breath of love to, all the green growing things and all of nature. And it reminds me, even in 1, 2, or 3 breaths, that I'm not alone. I'm part of this intrinsic whole of this vibrating universe, right? That is a necessary piece of the puzzle, and there's something that's been really beautiful about honoring the breath for me in that way, and can really just serve as a beautiful anchor home to myself, but also home to my connection to, spirit.
Totally. And it's such an inner peace when you close your eyes and breath. It's your inner life somehow when you experience this, like, then you're always like, it's always peace inside somehow.
Agreed.
Yeah. And what I wanted to ask you, which art of yoga is it that you started? Because when you said a white lady, was it Kundalini yoga or was it?
No, at all. It was just, the woman I took the practice from wasn't in the all white, but that was, I think there must have been like a TV show on like a public, like we had a public television station. And there was like a woman who I saw like a clip of before, and she was in an all white, like unitard. Yeah. And she would just be like sitting. So that was like, the one piece of like, oh, that's yoga, kind of thing. And I remember when I started doing it, I said to my mother, we used to be a dancer. So she loved to move. And once I really got into the physical practice of yoga that was guided by music, I was like, oh, I think my mom would really like this. Like, cause there's part of it that feels like dancing. Yeah. And I remember telling her that, and she goes, and she was like, oh, no, I can't do yoga. I can't sit still. And I'm like, no, Mom, that's not yoga. So even, years later, that still for a certain generation was this, this conception of what yoga might be. I didn't know this because the teacher that Well, first off, I didn't know there was different kinds of yoga. I just thought there was yoga. Yeah.
I had the same. Yeah. Was Shivananda yoga, Hatha yoga I thought that was yoga. I didn't know that there was any other thing.
Yeah. And yours was definitely more formal in the sense of even having proper names. Mine was just called yoga.
Yeah.
And what I realized years later, so with the city that I lived in then, I was there for about 1.5 years before I moved to New York City. And it wasn't till I moved to New York City that I started like, oh, they had things on the schedule like vinyasa or ashtanga. And I was like, do I just go to whatever, And I ended up in an ashtanga class just because the time worked.
Yeah.
And I realized what I had been learning was the woman was teaching us the primary series of yoga, but it was guided, right? So it wasn't, on your own. So I was like, oh, so what I've been doing is called Ashtanga. But then I moved to actually vinyasa because for my back, the forward bending and the primary series of Ashtanga is a lot of forward bending. And it wasn't great for me. And I wasn't like serious at that point. I wasn't doing Ashtanga 6 days a week by any means. I was going a couple of times a week. But I think I just went to a vinyasa class because the time worked, the same kind of thing. Oh, I'm free at 4:00 tomorrow. Great. And then there was the first time there was music played in class, and I was like, ooh, and that kind of woke up the dancer in me as well. And that was the framework I would say that I have done most of my study in has been under the very broad umbrella of vinyasa.
Yeah, nice, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but funny because I always thought, oh, what would other people think when I just thought so many years that only Hatha yoga was yoga. But it's good to hear it also from you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I remember, so this is really funny. So now we're talking like 5 years in, like, so not super new, but again, maybe even 6 years. I wasn't teaching or anything at this point. I was still just a student, I believe. And someone took me to a Kundalini yoga class. And I had never heard of Kundalini. I didn't know there was a form of yoga that didn't really include asanas. And, we got there and, the woman is, dressed in the Sikh attire and they're sitting on the lambskin rugs, and many of the students it actually ended up, we of course like went to the Kundalini center of like the US. Like I didn't know that either. So, many of them had the head wraps on, and so we're starting, like she had us like, doing these, all of the breath in the arms, and my arms were like burning, and I'm like, oh my God, how long are we doing? And then she had us get up and move around the room and like flap our wings and like literally go in a circle and be like, whoa! In my brain, I was like, this woman is making all this up, and she's just trying to see like what will finally be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like I literally thought like she was just like, I'm going to see what else I can make them do and see if they'll do it, And it was the craze. I went through this whole mental thing and I was like, what the heck is this? Yeah. And then she had us stop and we did this other exercise where we were using the mantra Sata Nama, which again, I knew nothing of. So we're doing this like, thing, and we're saying Sata Nama Sata, and something like happened inside me, and I just started bawling, like bawling. And then she starts speaking to that. Like she starts talking about like, the stuff that's stored in our tissues, and, don't attach to, a story, just let the energy move out of you and trust that whatever's coming up is coming up to be healed, and I was just like, I had never cried in a yoga class before. And I wailed like a baby. And it was after, and then eventually it subsided. And then we did this shavasana with this, gong thing. And I felt like almost like I was being reborn. It was it was insane. And it was crazy because this arc I went on of like, what the heck is this? To like, she's making this up, to, oh my gosh, like bawling my eyes out, to being like, holy crap, what just happened?
Yeah, I have a similar experience. I wanted to go to a special yoga teacher on a yoga retreat in a hotel. And then I was not able to make it. So there was another yoga teacher and she did Kundalini yoga. And I was like, oh my God, Kundalini. And I was also thinking of these white people with the wraps around the head. And I was like, oh, but I am an open person. And so I said, okay, let's try it. And then I tried it and it was really amazing. And it was also the first experience with yoga that I had to cry. And I loved it. I really loved it.
It's interesting because that was, many years ago now. And I was in Mexico earlier this year. And the same woman, because it turns out she's like one of the most famous Western women, of course, in Kundalini yoga. Her name is Gurmukh. She's a master teacher.
Yeah, I know her.
Yeah, okay. And so she was in Tulum, where I was, and staying even at the same hotel. And one day we ended up having breakfast, and I told her the story. And I said, we've met many times over the years, but very briefly. And then when I gave the context, she remembered. But I took her class. Then for the first time in over a decade. And now I'm like, the soul might be calling me to go do her next training.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really awesome. And I think like from the yoga aspect, like all the yoga traditions, like integrate the chakras. Like when I think in the Shivananda, like Swami Shivananda, he also did the exercises due to the Rishikesh flow, or how do you say? You don't say flow, I think, in Hatha Yoga, but it's due to the chakras. And it's not that much spoken about it, but I think in Kundalini Yoga, it's mostly told about the chakras to bring the energy from the root up
to the spine. Yeah. Like they talk so much about the energy in the spine, right? Even if they're not talking about the individual center, they're always talking about the energy in the spine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did it develop that you like from your own body experience, but like, did you experience something special with the chakras or working with the chakras? Because I know the different colors and sounds and what you can eat and wear and healing stones and the oils and it's such amazing things. And also when I do my hormone yoga, there is also the glands are in each of the areas, and I think it's so cool. So
it's really endless in terms of in my opinion, almost everything can be mapped on the chakras, right? From the 5 elements, right? It's the perfect place to begin, and how when we connect with each of the elements, how they actually give us information about our chakras, right? When we connect to the earth, we connect to that energy of grounding to our root chakra, to our foundation, to, all the roots of our origin, the roots of where we came from, the roots of our health, the roots of our vitality, of our finances, it goes on, right? And then we can bring in the senses, right? And the sense of smell is what calls us to presence, which again comes back to the root chakra, that most primal sense. So that yes, we can use any essential oils to that are even made of earth, right? That are made of these different properties, and then that then can vibrate for all the chakras. There's yoga poses, there's meditations. Of course, there's the endocrine glands, the hormonal system. I mean, I think that's super, super important and interesting to see the correlation. Because a lot of the times people ask me, well, because one of the things I really talk about with the chakra system from my perspective is that I think sometimes there's a misconception that the crown chakra is better than the root chakra, and that the higher up you go, the more important the chakra is. Or I actually don't like the terminology, the lower chakras and the upper chakras. Because I think that again creates this hierarchy that one is not good and one is bad. And to me, each of them is like a tiny brain, and it holds its own intelligence. It holds its own consciousness. It holds its own healing. It holds its own endocrine gland, right? That the pituitary gland is pretty damn important, but so is our adrenals, like it's, like we need our heart's really important, but we also need the lungs, else the heart won't do anything, so, but so when I say that to people, they're like, well, then why are they stacked vertically? Why aren't they, spread out all over the body? And I really believe that is because of, well, the energy of the spinal column, right? The central nervous system and the nerve ganglia that comes together, right? That those are at these places of these energetic centers. And then the hormonal glands, right? That's, how this is, comes together in a more, not if we're not just looking from the esoteric perspective, right? If we want to try to bring the science into it as well. And then of course that stems out to parts of the body, that these chakras govern, or potential ailments or potential things that might, hinder our potentiality and our health in all these different ways. And that it also, again, which I referenced a little earlier, that each of these centers it has a psychological aspect, it has a physical aspect, it has a mental aspect, so it really gives us so much information. That's why we can, map it on so many different things and call in crystals, call in mudras, call in asanas, call in music, right? Call in any sounding to support the awakening, the healing, the balancing of, the whole system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, to be honest.
Yeah. No, it's really and maybe you have an example that someone had a problem and was working on the chakra or a certain chakra that they had an amazing result, maybe?
Well, I mean, I don't, because here's the thing. We look at the chakras through the lens of one at a time, right? But in reality, all of them are dancing and singing together simultaneously. And it's really the integration of the whole that makes the system, come online and come into balance versus only focusing on one. But, I can talk from my own perspective of not, this isn't going to be like a miraculous story, but just is like a very, just tactile story. And it's interesting because you've used the word grounded to describe me a few times in this, since, or your experience of me.
Yes, and grounded.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And yeah. And so, but that's one of the things I actually have to very much tend to. So my belief is that we have to, that spirit descends down into the body, that the pathway of yoga isn't just up and out, right? That an equally important pathway is down and in, and especially for the feminine, especially for the Shakti. If we even look at the Shakti triangle, the symbol of Shakti, the downward pointing triangle, it's like from this great expanse, down into, this single point at the root of the pelvis, at the yoni, at the, plugging in. And I think to have that full expression, right, to be able to then go down to that point and then expand back out, is that we have to have these deep roots of support, right? We have to be tethered to the earth. We have to be strong in our physical body. We have to feel the ground below us. We have to bring the energy that's in the mind, bring it back into the body. Mm-hmm. And that's been a lot of my life's work, because I very easily can get up and out of my body. I experienced a lot of trauma as a young girl, and that was a skill that an unconscious skill, like the intelligence again of the body, that I became very proficient at for my own safety. Right. This is how the mind works, or the body works. So if you can disassociate from an experience, you have a better chance of survival. Right. But then what happens when you're not in those threatening situations later, you still have this ability to do that, and you're actually not present in the here and now, or really inhabiting this body. So this is, and then that also can mean this person deals with a lot of anxiety, right? They're in this mental loop of the mind, and they don't feel attached to anything, and they're just, the wind blows and they get knocked around. And so for me, coming back to practices of the physical, of even the abhyanga, of self-massage, of feeling my feet on the ground, that's why even in the foundation chapter of the book, the first meditation I teach you is how to drop a grounding cord, imagining from your root chakra, the trunk of a tree growing down through all the molten layers of the earth and connecting you to the center, and then imagining out through both soles of the feet, right? So before I leave my house every day, even if it's just for 20 seconds, I just run that energy, right? Feel myself connected, feel my feet on the ground. And with the lifestyle pre-COVID that I've chose to lead, of bouncing around from city to city, country to country, plane to plane, even for someone who doesn't have root chakra, issues, so to speak, it could very much create them, right? That if the root chakra is all about home, and I don't technically have a home, but my home is wherever I am in that moment, it can cause a lot of disturbance.
Vata.
So exactly. That's the word. So my whole life is like, how do I mitigate Vata? How do I manage the Vata? And so every day, part of my practice is that is the goal. Like I everywhere I go, I have the routines that I can do. Like I set up an altar, no matter if I'm in a place one night, I have this here, and that's like, okay, right by my bed, that's me creating home right there, right? I do certain grounding breathing. I'm not doing my, I'm doing more, slow, deep breaths, big exhales through the mouth, the Apana breath, imagining the breath coming down and out through the legs and feet, doing physical practice with my legs. I'm rolling out the bottoms of my feet, eating warm, cooked, dense food, root vegetables. And I really do believe it is because of that I've been able to live the lifestyle that I do, and also start to not go, I've started to, more than started, I've learned how to be in my body and it be safe to be in my body, so that my automatic response isn't to leave.
Yeah.
Right. That I can actually be here and feel the physical sensations that are present. I can actually be here and feel the emotions that are moving through me, and not from this highly developed system of escape, right? That was necessary at a different time in my life. So I believe for me, this understanding of what was happening at this root level, and I'm really going to say it's first and second chakra together, right? Because they're so close to each other too, and the physical body. I mean, they're the closest together of any of them, really. So I believe they kind of go like. They're kind of doing this together in a way.
Me too, especially when I think on women recreation. It's always, you need this trust to be able to be sexual with someone somehow.
Absolutely.
And to create, and so connected down the navel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, but I mean, I've seen so many things in my students over the years, and even just simple things, like, because I think sometimes it actually is the the small things that make the biggest difference, right? Like being able to be present, being able to stay in your body, being able to actually like connect to your power and go from someone who sits like this to actually being able to stand up and face the world just like this.
Yeah.
Right. To allow, the heart to open enough to risk being hurt. Right. Or, I think a big one, especially for women, I mean, for everyone, but especially for women, is the first time someone's actually able to like speak up and say, no, you're not going to treat me that way.
Yeah.
Or no, that's not my truth. Yeah. Right. And that like, it gives me chills even just to think about it. So I think it just shows up in those ways. Or, I followed my intuition and this is what happened.
Yeah.
Or through my connection with taking time every day to connect to the divine, the gratitude that I've been flooded with. So I think we're so often looking for that example of like some miraculous, I all of a sudden saw this color and then I floated off the ground and wings came out of my back and it was like, Yeah. But I really think it's in these, what I think that why the chakra system is so powerful and why I felt so moved to write this book is that the work we do with the chakras can immediately impact our life now and improve the quality, the health of our life and the quality of our life now. Right. And can empower us now. It's not something that's just, and I feel like people think it's out there. And I'm like, no. It's so deep in here. It's so deep in here.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Also, when I do my yoga, Ayurveda lifestyle coaching, and it's really like these are sometimes really small tips, but they are so life-changing.
Absolutely. That's a perfect exactly. Because, and I actually see the intersection of Ayurveda and the chakras. I mean, Ayurveda is based off the 5 elements too, so in this, when we have too much fire, what happens? When we have too much earth, what happens? It all works together and supports each other in this highest realm of health, right? The science of longevity or the science of what is to be alive.
The nice thing, like I was taught that because you mentioned the upper chakras and the lower chakras, and I was taught that the lower chakras are like the earth chakras and the upper chakras are the heavenly chakras. And I think that's always a nice imagination, because when I think on chakras, that you can do a lot for the lower chakras with physical practice, and with the upper is a lot like mental things like meditation and chanting or singing and like always I think of.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you, Cristi. And now I have to ask you like 3 tips what you can give to the ladies or also men who are listening to the podcast about maybe chakras. Maybe some people, chakras sometimes so suspect for people.
Well, let me define. So in my book, what I did is I created an acronym for chakra to try to help people maybe either do what it did for like that spark that curiosity for them to want to learn more and see how this system can be a map for your highest empowerment, your highest health. So we can think of chakras as energy, right? They're these wheels of light and power and color. And we talked about already that each one holds its own intelligence. And I want you to also imagine them as the organs of the energy body. So just like we have the heart of the physical body, we have the heart chakra, which is the organ of the energy body. Okay. So that they're like, that's how vital they are to our system. They're the organs of this energy body. And science has proven that we are all energy. So this is not woo-woo. We have subtle energy and we have physical energy, and the chakras operate in the subtle, but they impact the physical. Mm-hmm. So, and then the other way that is a little bit more esoteric to think about them is that they are doorways into the divine. Mm-hmm. And then they're also portals into our embodiment. Mm-hmm. So they bring us deeper into our connection with ourselves, but they also, each one can bring us closer into our relationship with the divine. Mm-hmm. So the way I did the acronym is the C represents the chakras connect our inner and our outer worlds. Mm-hmm. Right? The H is they honor all of who we are, right? And all of what we are made up of. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, the space. So nothing is cast out, nothing is repressed, nothing is desired. All of you is welcome. All of you is necessary, mm-hmm. right? To actually come into this integrated wholeness, right? The CHA, they awaken, mm-hmm. they awaken consciousness on these 7 distinct levels. And they kindle the fires of transformation that call us forth to take action. Mm-hmm. So our third chakra, yes, is related to the element of fire, but there's a fire within each of these centers. There's a light, there's an illumination in each of these centers. And for any transformation to happen, for any healing to happen, for any awakening to happen, we actually have to do something. Mm-hmm. Right? We have to take action. We can think about something all day. We can even read a book, but if we actually don't do anything, right? We can, like, a perfect example I'd like to use all the time is like, okay, we could dream about having the perfect body. We could dream about, having, if you're someone who wants big muscles, like, oh, what would my arms look like, or my 6-pack? But if you just dream about it, your body's never going to change, right? You actually have to go to the gym and you have to change maybe how you're eating. It's the same thing with spiritual practice. It's the same thing with anything. And we live in a world that just wants this quick fix of like, well, I do it one time and it's done, And so this is really calling you forth to ignite this fire, right? That gets you off your asana and makes you take action. Mm-hmm. The R is to restore this sense of wildness, all that is primal, all that is instinctual, and our wildness, our wholeness. Mm-hmm. And the final A is they awaken us to the magic, they align us to the magic and the mystery of the infinite, of the heavens, right? And to that deep wisdom of the earth, that anchor of support. And that we are the conduit that connects the powers of the earth and the sky. Like, that's how powerful that we are, that this energy is running through us, this cosmic intelligence that allows the sun to rise, and the moon to set is also the energy that's running our bodies. Mm-hmm. And how incredible that is. So that's just to try to give you a little bit of a scope of what the chakras actually help us to do. And so the first thing I would say is get my book because especially for like what I really love about the book is that if you're someone who's brand new to chakras, or you've heard about energy and you've been curious enough, right? This is going to be a book that can really meet you in that place, right? And it's going to hold your hand and it's going to take you through this step-by-step process. You're going to each day have practices that you do. And I made them all short, 15 minutes or less, so they can fit into your busy life, so that you can start to develop an intimate connection with the energy of who you are. You're going to build a connection with each of these centers in your body, and so much information is going to come forth. You're going to start to recognize places in which maybe that you are shut down, or you're going to recognize places in which you're so connected and so vital and alive. And it's all just information so that we can, continue to expand and grow and heal and live the lives that we want. And if you're someone who's an experienced person with the chakras, like yourself, Yasmin, there's so many practices in here that I think any yoga teacher or any avid yoga studio is still going to love. There's over 50 practices in the book. For each chakra, there's 7 practices. And so this is really, this could really, support you and starting to do with what I call, whether you're a man or a woman. I'm going to say, instead of saying awaken your wild woman, which is the subtitle of my book, I'll just say awaken the wild one in you. And for me, that honors this map of the chakra system. So we start with, coming home to your body, getting comfortable in the skin that you're in. What is this relationship that you have with the temple in which you reside? And how do you connect to the earth and connect to the primal, what is most natural to us, right? And then that brings us up into the second chakra, which is also primal. And what's most natural to us is our sexuality, right? Like our sensuality, our desire, our passion, right? Sometimes things that we're told in spirituality we should be negating, but the chakra system says no. All of these are gateways into the divine. And it's also our emotion, like reclaiming our emotions, that actually, as it's to be in touch with the full spectrum of what it is to be an emotional being, to feel the deep sadness and to feel the ecstatic joy. And then coming up into the fire center, that we can rise up, that we can stand up for justice, for injustice, right? That we have the power to say yes to our lives. We have the courage to actually do something, right? And that we can strengthen our esteem and our confidence and be comfortable with who we are as a person, and know that we can do anything. Like to really know, like we can do anything.
Yeah.
Then with the heart. Yeah.
You here in the interview, like I was never thinking and I was just give it a try. Why not? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, and that's the courage and the voice coming together and be like, why not? Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
The heart, living from this place of like living with love, leading with love, and recognizing that actually this is the greatest power, right? And the healing power of the world. And then in our voice of I'll just use the word claim again, of reclaiming our voices. So many of us have been silenced, right? Or don't think our words matter, or they won't have an impact. So why speak up? Why create my art? Why share this with the world? So really reclaiming here, and then moving into the third eye of awakening magic, the awe and wonder of holy moly, what this human experience is, right? And then also then going really inside and awakening to that intuition, that inner knowing, right? That we can be guided by that inner authority that is us, right? Or is the divine speaking to us, however you want to look at it. And then that final step of reclaiming all of you are is opening up to really the divine. And the phrase I use is that you were meant to wear this crown, right? The crown chakra. And I imagine the crown, and then I imagine each of the jewels, right, of intelligence, like sitting in the crown. So we got the red, we got the orange, we got, so it's like, and once like the crown is placed on your head, it's like, it gets lit up, and that you are the queen of your queendom. You are the king of your kingdom.
Yeah, that's so important, because many women and men forget that, because we are so like in a hamster wheel in our lives and society, and we mostly don't speak up because what other people think, and you have not to do that or should not say that, and you can't do that, and you can do everything.
We have to stop empowering other people's beliefs of ourselves and start empowering our own. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. And when you have 3 little tips, like what would you just say, like what people can do to align with the chakras, like for every day?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing would be feel your feet on the ground. Mm-hmm. Take a moment, whether you're sitting in a chair, whether you're standing up, and if you have the ability to take your shoes off, or before you put shoes on, actually lift your toes up, try to spread them apart and place them back down, and just do that like 3 times. So it's going to wake up all these intrinsic muscles, and then consciously press down through all 4 corners of your feet. So from your big toe to your inner heel, pinky toe, outer heel, and then just close your eyes and bring your attention to your feet, right? So feeling, we have 7 main chakras in the body, but we have thousands of chakras all throughout the body. So we actually do have chakras in the soles of the feet. So just even like tuning into that subtle sensation, that subtle vibration, and then imagining, call forth the powers of your imagination. And that's one of the things that Chakras asks us to do for sure, is imagine these tap roots growing down from the center arch of each foot, mm-hmm. and feel them. Imagine them growing down through the ground you're standing on, all the way into the earth, and just feeling that connection, the strength that provides you, mm-hmm. right? And then just start to take some deep breaths in and out. So allow the energy, like feel this circuit of energy of releasing anything from your body that you don't need, whether that's stress or anxiety or even just extra energy, right? Let it out. Anything from yesterday, imagine it running through the channels of the legs, which now are the roots of the tree or the trunk of the tree, then out through the soles of the feet, give it to the earth. And then imagine drawing in. I like to imagine drawing in a ruby red light, but it might be a muddy brown or a grassy green. Imagine drawing this energy up through the legs of actually the nourishment, mm-hmm. that you need, the support you need. So you tune in, you ask yourself, like, what do I need? Do I need calm? Mm-hmm. Do I need courage? Do I need energy? Like what is it? And then you imagine breathing that up into your root chakra, and you imagine breathing it all the way up, all the way through all the centers. So you don't have to know the centers, just breathe it all the way up to the crown of the head. Then when you get to the crown of the head, just imagine it wrapping around you, right? Like a cocoon, this energy wrapping around you, and just try that a few times. Imagine breathing up through the legs, all the way up, this little cocoon. All right. And that you're kind of like putting this like warm blanket of exactly the nourishment that you need. And then the last step that I'd like to do is come to the crown. Because again, so we can all find the root and the crown. We don't have to worry about so much what's in between. We just go up and down the spine. And you imagine the crown opening, right? And a golden beam of light, or if gold doesn't, it could be iridescent, whatever color works for you. I like gold. Golden beam of light shining upward. And that golden beam of light connects up into the universal source that surrounds and connects us all. That source for you might be cosmic intelligence. That source for you might be God. That source for you might be Durga. It might be the sun or the moon, whatever it is for you. Doesn't matter. All right. You get to decide. All right. Clicks up. And then you allow from down, you allow this golden light to pour back in through you. Come all the way down through the central channel, all the way down through the grounding cords, all the way down through the channels of the legs, all the way down through the arms. And you just imagine this light spinning through the whole of the body, the whole of the body, the whole of the body. And it's really beautiful. And that's a really just easy way to start to get the crown and the root in a really good conscious alignment, and allow the energy to move through you, right? Again, we want it to move up and we want it to move down in a really beautiful way. So that would be like a 3-minute practice you could do before you leave the house in the morning. Or if you work from home before you start your day, like maybe you can do it. So you could do it seated or standing. And if you want to get a little fancier with it, as you're running that gold light, you can bring in an affirmation. You could breathe in a little prayer, right? So you make it personal to you, because that's where the real transformation happens, when it holds meaning to you, right? If you're using words of like, okay, this is what I need, and it And it requires that self-inquiry and that self-connection of, okay, what do I really need today? What message do I need to hear right now that's going to support me? So whether it's I am worthy, or I am enough, or I got this, or, I'm going to speak my truth, or whatever it might be, or I'm bringing in more love and freedom and connection. It's also you connecting with you so you can empower you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So that would be...
It's an amazing practice. And in this practice, you already have three tips, because alone this grounding with the feet, deep breathing, and then this energy awakening, or just putting in all the energy you want to have or you need. Because mostly when you ground yourself and breathe, you feel what you need.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You pay attention.
Yeah.
Right. You come back from the scrolling of the screen. You come back from, the kids yelling or having to make breakfast, or, it gives you that chance to recalibrate. I'll share one other thing just for fun, that you can start to feel the energy. This is one of my favorite ones. If you want to do it with me, it's calling supercharging your hands. So just like we said, we have chakras in our feet, we have chakras in our hands. So you can extend your arms out, spin one palm up, one palm down, and just open, close the hands. And do it pretty rapidly, open, close. And you might start to feel like a little cramping in the hands. Yeah, keep it going. And then go flip them over. One more time. It's also going to strengthen your wrist. This is good for all you arm balancers out there and your forearm extenders. And then bring the hands in front.
Wow.
And just feel that communication. Yeah. So this is the chakras in the hands, and this is what's happening at all these other levels. Okay. So you can play with this energy as it dissipates. You can charge it more. All right. And I just want you to feel that and tune into that. You might see a color. You might feel a temperature change. And then you can take your hands to any of these places on your body, your third eye, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, anywhere that needs a little bit more love and attention. And just this is your energy to this place of the body. And take a few deep breaths there. And of course, if you want to bring a mantra in, depending on where your hands are, that relates to that area. Of mine are on my heart, so I might say, I am love, or I am divine love, or I am worthy of love. And if you have your hands on your throat, it might be, I uniquely express my truth, or my words have meaning, or whatever it might be. Yeah. So those are just some super easy ways that one of my teachers says, stop trying to get it right, because you can't get it wrong. So when we're working with energy in this way, so much about it is our intention behind it. So don't get hung up if I put my hands here instead of here, the divine's going to meet you with how you show up. Right. So if you show up to do the practice and with the intentionality of serving yourself in the highest, right? Or serving your highest alignment for healing, you can't get it wrong. So I encourage you to explore. I encourage you to use my book as a guide. And I encourage you to listen to what is moving through you, and giving yourself permission to try different things as well.
Yes, thank you. This is so, so powerful. And I think with this exercise, everyone can imagine about the energy and the energy body, because it's really I think I did it with you and Linz, this exercise.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I
start the workshops with it a lot. Yeah.
and I really felt this heat and this energy. It's wow. Everyone who is listening should watch the YouTube video to see the exercise. Yes. It's really brilliant. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Well, such an honor and a pleasure to share this time with you. And thank you so much for being brave enough to just ask.
Yeah.
How easy.
Thank you for your time. And you're an amazing being. I'm so happy. And
as you are.
And maybe one day I will dance with you in Mexico or somewhere, or Bali. Like, this would be a dream of mine. Like, when I saw pictures during the pandemic, I thought, like, oh my God, I would love to dance with Cristi there.
Yes. All right. Well, we're going to make that happen. One of the actual hotels that we were at, the very first one, called the House of Aya, one of the most insane, amazing places I've been to in the world, really. We're in talks right now about creating for 2022 a 7-day retreat that would also mirror, 1 day for each chakra on their property. So that might happen sooner than later.
Yeah.
We'll make that dream come true.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, Cristi, thank you so much. Thank you for your inspiring being and your inspiring work. And I hope to talk to you soon, maybe to a specific topic, and connecting also to the chakras would be awesome, because I'm working with women in all the stages of their being, like with the cyclic living, and also with hormone yoga and the pelvic floor, and especially the pelvic floor and the root chakra are so important for our energy, and it would be amazing to have a talk about it one day.
I love it. We'll make it happen. Make it happen.
Thank you. Yes. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day, and
you too. Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you.